all jokes aside, I know it's really funny to see all those hating Raul memes, but if we actually deepen about the relationship between Raul and Christine and then Eric and Christine as well, we will realize that both Raul and Eric are not that different, because at the end of the day, what they both want is to own Christine, is to actually create this perfect version of Christine that fits their fantasies. Hello everyone, this is Dr. Stower Reads, and today I want to review The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. If you guys know me already, or if you have seen any of my videos, maybe last week's video, you know that I am obsessed with The Phantom of the Opera. I have seen the film, I have read the book, and I have also seen the theatre play in West End in London last year. It was fantastic, amazing, marvelous. If you have the opportunity to watch it, please go and watch it. But today I want to review the book specifically. And yeah, there's a lot that I have to discuss in here, because there is a lot that we miss from the films or from the theatre play, because obviously they have slight differences between them. But yeah, today I want to review the book exclusively. So yeah, let's start, because there's a lot that we have to go through and there's a lot that we have to discuss. So let's go. As always, starting with the summary, The Phantom of the Opera is about the opera house in Paris. So I think it's Palais Garnier. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but yeah, it's this specific opera house. And it's basically around the late 1800s, early 1900s. There is a story, or like there is this rumor that the opera house is actually haunted by a phantom or by a ghost. Everyone that works within the opera house has either had experiences with the ghosts themselves, or they know someone that had these experiences. And it's basically all of them live in harmony, more or less. They have their own arrangements to make sure that the ghost is happy. But then one day, the managers of the opera house, they find a corpse, which is one of the former employees that has been hanged. And obviously, before they are the next ones in being killed or in being murdered by the ghost, they decide to retire, and they decide just to part ways with the opera house, because they realize that they can't deal with this ghost anymore themselves. And obviously, because this is France in the 1800s, nothing can be done quietly and discreetly. So they decide, or both managers decide, to do one last performance gala just to say goodbye to the actors, but also say goodbye to the public. And basically, during the day of the performance, so before the gala starts, all the actors are doing a run through the play just to make sure that everyone is in their place and everything. And for the surprise of everyone, Carlotta, who is the prima donna, so the main character of the play itself, doesn't show up, and everyone realizes that she is actually ill and cannot sing. So obviously, all of them are desperate to find someone that can occupy the position of Carlotta, and they find this position filled by Christine Dae, who is a young former ballerina from the opera house that becomes the prima donna of the play, or the prima donna of the opera, but also becomes an overall sensation during the performance and during the gala, especially getting the attention from the Vicomte Raoul de Chagny, who not only was her former playdate, but is also still obsessed and in love with her. After that magical performance, Raoul decides to go backstage and meet Christine, but he gets stopped immediately before the entrance door, because he hears Christine speaking to a male voice inside her room. And obviously he is filled with the most pure jealous rage, because obviously his Christine is speaking with another man. So obviously he enters in the room and finds the room absolutely empty. And when he comes out, he tries to speak with other people within the opera house, just to hear, to just for him to hear about Christine on their behalf, right? And obviously they tell him everything about Christine, all the things that he already knew, but also at the same time, they also tell him how surprised they were about how much talent Christine has, and also how erratic her behavior has been for the past few weeks. Because obviously she has disappeared sometimes, or she has been practicing quite a lot more when it comes to her singing and her artistry, which is something that obviously no one expected, which makes him even more suspicious about her behavior. Apart from Raoul's plot, we also see a subplot within this book, which is the opera house story, right? After the two managers resign, we find that there are two other managers that are basically considered the owners of the opera house. And once they enter in, they basically try to change all the rules within the opera house, because obviously there are things that were not done properly, or the old managers were too lax with the employees, but also with the way it was managed, the way the opera house was managed, specifically with how lenient or how much the employees believed in the ghost, right? So they try to investigate regarding who is the ghost, and also if it even exists. And basically along the lines of the story, or alongside the story, we find out that the ghost does exist, and he has two commandments that he wants the managers to still follow, as all the managers did, which was that Christine Dae has to be the prima donna, and also that then the private box number 5, which is one of the best views of the opera house, has to be closed for only him to enjoy, and no one can enter in, which is obviously a loss of money because boxes are quite expensive, and also at the same time, both managers don't want to give the ghost more leniency into doing whatever he wants. So obviously they try to find out who is the ghost, or what is even the ghost, which is quite interesting because there's a lot of little subplots, a little characters that also play a part in this. I don't want to give away too much about the book, just in case you want to read it. So, starting with the discussion, the first thing that I have to say is that I am genuinely confused, because when I was reading reviews or discussions and analysis about the book, I saw everyone was mentioning dark romance, or was mentioning the toxicity of both characters, or both Raoul and Eric, which, don't get me wrong, you guys are absolutely right. But the one thing that people do not mention at all is what is the main point of this book. And I think the main point is that we find two men fighting for the same muse. It's literally the main plot of the story is two men fighting for the ownership of a muse, which is Christine. Let me just elaborate, and I think if I give you examples, we will understand these better, right? I will start with Raoul because I think it's the most clear example. And I think Raoul views Christine as this kind of muse, or this kind of remembrance of a better past, right? Or a better time. Because I see Raoul's vision of Christine as someone who is angelic, someone who is too kind to the point of almost being dumb, right? And just someone that is always looking up, or looking for other people, right? We see how she takes care of Raoul, and she is, even though she is not really independent, she has this sort of pure love that Raoul so clearly desires, right? We see how jealous Raoul is towards Christine, in the way of she cannot speak with other men, or he feels incredible rage and jealousy over seeing Christine, or hearing Christine speaking with a male voice that he doesn't even know who he is. After years of not talking to each other, or after completely disappearing from her life, he still feels this jealousy because he still wants that Christine, right? Also, at the same time, we see how, at least in the book, I don't think this happened in the film nor in the theatre play, but in the book, Raoul basically manipulates Christine, very openly manipulates her into believing that if he doesn't get the opportunity to meet her again or just to talk with her and have this like friendship relationship back again, he's gonna kill himself, which is manipulation one-on-one, basically. And then on the other side, we have Eric, who is the Phantom of the Opera, but is also this angel of music or misunderstood artist who views Christine literally just as a muse, right? We see how enamored he is with her looks, and with her raw talent, and how he thinks it's his responsibility to make her the perfect artist or the perfect angelical, whimsical artist that she is meant to be, right? So he has this idea that Christine has everything it takes to be this incredible, one of a kind artist that will be remembered by the end of the days, because at the end of the day, what he wants is something that is immortal as him, right? And he has this idea that Christine, can be this perfect immortal character, or like this immortal bride that he is looking for, right? So both of them at the same time, so both Raoul and Eric have this secret idea of what Christine should be, or like what Christine can do for them. I also feel the need to mention the dark romance of this book, because I am not gonna lie, if you have seen my video already, or if you have seen anything regarding my channel, you know that I am obsessed with dark romance. I love a good classical dark romance story, right? And I would say that this is something that we find in the Phantom of the Opera, obviously. I feel it's like a little weird love triangle happening around here, but the one thing that I have to mention is that Eric is a true lover. Like, I think Raoul has his own agenda around Christine, and even though I think that he loves her, I don't think he loves her for the same reasons that Eric does. And even though I also think that Eric doesn't have good true intentions with Christine, because at the end of the day he wants her to be something that she isn't, I have to say that he is a true lover. And obviously I saw the film, well, I first saw the film before I read the books, and I remember watching Emmy Rossum's Christine, and I was so enamored. Like, obviously she was like my awakening, I'm not gonna lie, and she is also my one true like aesthetic view, or like my aesthetic life, the kind of thing that I want to be, right? Because look at her, okay, this is how I want to look. Like, oh my god, I love her. I am obsessed with Christine. I think she is one of the best characters that I have ever read. She's just so kind. And also at the same time, I remember seeing Eric, and I was like, yeah, this is doing something for me, right? Like, it just makes sense. But I, like, now getting back into the story, right? I think after reading the book, I saw Eric as someone who is obviously this misunderstood character, or like this misunderstood artist, but I also think his own loneliness because of his ugliness and because of his own immortality is what makes him this kind of toxic, right? Like, Raoul has no reason, he has no excuse to be this stupid, but Eric, I think Eric is understandable. Like, I understand why Eric is like that, right? And honestly, I think he's a true lover. I genuinely think the fact that he was writing her letters, that he was so obsessed with her, and like that he basically let her free in order for her to do whatever she wanted at the end of the day, I think that shows that even though he is toxic, he's a good kind of toxic. I'm just saying. Now, getting into the analysis and going back to the first point, I have to be completely honest, and I think Raoul nor Eric had actually true good intentions towards Christine. I don't care how good was the ending, or the fact that Eric actually let her go, or that at the end she fell in love with Raoul and just decided to leave the opera house and leave Paris and flee just because she was sick of all of that. I think at the end of the day, they both got what they wanted from her, but also at the same time, they just realized that it wasn't what they wanted, right? Because like thinking about Raoul, right? The fact that after years of no contact with Christine, you see her once, you see how much people love her, how enchanting she is, and how enamored everyone is around her. The fact that after years of not seeing her, you go backstage and then you get like a tantrum because you heard her talk with a guy or like talk with a male voice. It's just like, it just shows me that you basically want to own her, right? Like, he wants Christine to be his bride, no matter what Christine does, or no matter what she decides for herself, because she has said multiple times that she wants to be a singer, she wants to be an artist. Raoul doesn't want that. Like, Raoul says that he's okay with this, but what Raoul actually truly wants is Christine to be his wife. He wants to keep Christine for himself, to keep her art for himself, for him to enjoy only, right? Whereas Eric, on the other side, even though I think he aligns with Christine a little bit more than Raoul or than everyone else, because he also wants the same as Christine wants, which is he wants Christine to be this incredible muse, this incredible artist that is a one of a kind thing. But he doesn't have the same intentions, or like he doesn't want that outcome because of the same reason, in the sense of, I think Christine wanted that, or like agreed to work with Eric in order to fulfill her father's last wish, which was enjoying music, enjoying art, and just actually showing to the world the talent of Christine, right? Which was the thing that she wanted to do. She wanted to do art for her dad, right? Whereas Eric wants Christine to be famous, or Eric wants Christine to be this one of a kind creature, because he wants her to have enough talent to feed into his into his artist fantasy, right? Obviously, we see that he has been writing this opera for like ages, for centuries, right? And it's like, he needs Christine in order to perform this opera, because at the end of the day, he wants company. He also wants a bride. And I think this is the main point of the book, right? We see how there's this dichotomy within the artist world, or the art world, which is basically women are either one or two things, right? They are either wives or they are muses. They can't be both, because being a wife or being a muse means being owned by a man. And men do not want to share ownership with other men, right? They want to have the exclusivity of the woman, or the wife slash muse. And this is the one thing, it's the same thing as the is it like the prima donna horror complex, right? Which is like, we see that Christine can either be a wife or can be a muse. And I think it's just like, we see these nowadays on a daily basis in the art world. Again, there's like, we have so many examples of male artists that venerated these like magnificent creatures that are like muses, right? And they would literally transform them to their own image and to their own needs and desires in order to create this art, or in order to elevate their art, in order to make it more whole, or like make it better, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what many male artists do, right? Like, they don't have the idea, they just see this muse or this thing that inspires them, and then they just use it and abuse it in order to get relevant, or like get a relevancy in art, right? We see it with Picasso, for example. We see it with tech hugers as well in the literary world. We see it with Percy Shelley as well. There's so many examples of men using muses as a way to develop their own art, or using women as muses in order to develop their art, and just torturing them to the point of making women non-existent just because they need women to abuse or to torture in order to develop their art. And also, on the other side, on the flip side, we see many artists, like many female artists, that are these talented creatures that have a lot of art to show around, or to express within their own means, and just make a significant change in the world, or in the artistry world, right? And then suddenly they disappear because they have become wives, right? They fell in love, or they decided to marry, and then they just disappear because they cannot be artists anymore, because they are women, they are wives, they are mothers. They suddenly become something else, or they get another job title, which is the title of mother. I don't exactly remember the quote, I'll just put it over here, but I think the Phantom of the Opera unintentionally just really fits into this quote, which basically explains that men don't really want, well, men, when they say that they want subservient women, they don't really mean that they want actual subservient women. It just means that they want women who are free, who are independent, and then become subservient for the men, right? Like bed collectors. Like, bed collectors don't want a pigeon because there's so many of them. What they want is, they want exotic beds that they can put in a cage, because the main point is not to get this exotic bed, is to put the exotic bed in a cage. Basically, that's what both Raoul and Eric do, which is they see this free agent, this exotic bed, or this muse or future wife that is Christine, and they want to create her, or like they want to mold her into feed into this cage, or these two ideas of cages that they desire, right? Which is, for Raoul it's a wife, and then for Eric it's a muse, right? So it's just like they literally just showed that the Phantom of the Opera is nothing more than a critique towards the way we treat female artists in the world. Basically, as a quick conclusion, I would say that the Phantom of the Opera is a heartbreaking story about a beautiful and incredibly talented woman who finds herself in the middle of a love romance fight between two men who just want to control and decide what is her future as a woman, or as an artist, or a muse. I think that is the best way to define the Phantom of the Opera. But obviously, we see quite a lot of other subtopics within the story, which I don't think I have the time to discuss about, because I would just be talking here for 6 hours, and I don't think you want to hear me talk for 6 hours. But yeah, basically that is the main plot of the story. And also, if you like type of flamboyant artistry kind of bigs, where just everything seems to be dramatized 1,000%, and you also enjoy, what you basically are a theater kid, I recommend you to read The Phantom of the Opera if you haven't already. And also, please watch the film. All of these is everything and all at once, like everything that you have ever decided for. And if you have the opportunity, please make sure that you support the Phantom of the Opera cast, or that you go to see the play in West End or in Broadway as well if you can, because honestly, this is not a miss. This is the best theater play that I have ever seen, the best musical that has ever existed. It is just fantastic, phenomenal, 10 out of 10. Please support the cast. I love everything about The Phantom of the Opera, even if I don't love Raoul nor Eric, but that's another story for another day. And yeah, that's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it. And if you have read or watched anything regarding the Phantom of the Opera, please comment down below and tell me what you thought about it. And also, if you have any other points that you think I missed about the story, also please make sure that you comment. I would love to hear about it. And if you want, also you can follow me on my social media. I am always more than happy to just talk around with DMs, and just we can discuss as much as you want. And yeah, thank you so much for watching again, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.